Rohan, is it Rohan?
Yes. Hey, all right.
Rohan.
Ron?
Rohan.
Rohan. Yeah.
Ron.
Can you see us pretty good? Is it a good feed?
Yeah, it looks perfect.
Hi, Ron.
Hey, Rohan.
How are you guys?
I'm doing well. How are you?
This is how it's gonna happen.
Yeah, we just goof off, and sometimes you get good stuff. Sometimes, well, you don't.
Oh, no, that's perfect. I mean, yeah, huge fan of the podcast. So I've heard you guys.
Oh, thanks, dude. Thanks for listening, man. I appreciate that.
I guess we'll get rolling. But so it's been like 10 years since you guys wrapped the show, and so like I know you guys have both been active on the convention circuit, getting like refamiliarized with the show. So what's your sort of perspective on the legacy of the series now, after like kind of meeting guys that grew up on it like me?
I mean, for me, I've grown more of an appreciation for what we did, to be honest. Talking to people who've seen it and watched it with their families, their fathers and mothers, I had no idea that was sort of what people were feeling. So my appreciation for Smallville has increased since we stopped.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think, when we go to conventions or whatever and you see the people that it made a difference with, it really resonates.
Yeah.
And, now that you can watch the show on Hulu and, it's pretty much universal. We're getting new, younger audiences, and it's awesome. It's an amazing thing to have a show stand the test of time.
Yeah,
I mean, we have. It started in 2001, and now we're talking about it in 2021, and that's a good thing.
That's and by the way, it's quite rare that a show lasts that long, and it has a resonance that allows us to come revisit it, and then allows us to now be in business together to create another show based upon
life
yeah,
and
life.
history and what we have, and we're working on stuff together, and we're working on a Smallville animated series with the creators, and hopefully going to be getting that going soon, and working on a show that I wrote that Tom and I hopefully will star in, and it's funny because on the show we were friends, not Lex and Clark, but we were friends as Michael and Tom, but we never hung out a lot because the last thing Tom wanted to do, he's working all damn day, was hanging out with anybody. Yeah. And now that it's over, we have time to sort of like,
do this.
So here we are at my house in the hills,
yeah.
And we're enjoying it. So thanks for having us.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys answered like 6 of my questions, but so like I know I've always wanted to kind of ask, because I remember because I watched it when I was in high school, like after you left, Michael, you left after season 7, but Tom, you kept going until season 10. When did you know that, and you had kind of like set the precedent for like the Supernatural guys and like the Flash Arrow guys, where you can kind of end the show on when you decide like it's time to end this Clark story. So when did you sort of know back then that, hey, it's time to season 10 is the end instead of like,
well, I respect your question, but that's not what happened.
What happened? Because I don't know.
We ran out of stories. It wasn't me raising my hand saying I'm done. It really wasn't. It was a collective experience with even Peter Roth, who was the head of Warner Bros. At the time, who I spoke to, and I wrote the ending to the show with him. And part of it was like, dude, we're just like, Clark has to go on. He has to move on. We ran out of story. Like Clark
and Tom isn't a boy anymore.
And I was like,
he's getting older.
And I was like 47 years old by the end of the show.
Not that.
No. But I respect your question, but like the show had literally just run its course.
Yeah.
And it wasn't me wanting to leave. It wasn't anything else. It was a collective thing. And very rarely does a television show know it's coming to an end. And we had that gift. Like they were like, okay, guys, this is the last season. Let's go out with a bang. And that's what we did.
Yeah. And for me, Rohan, for me, it was like, a lot of folks would, thought that I quit the show. And that wasn't the case at all. I mean, my contract was for 6 years. I did 7. I did an extra year. And then I just felt like, I wanted to explore other worlds. And I felt like I had done all I could with 7 years and 160 episodes of Lex. And I came back for the series finale, which was really rewarding for not only me, but for fans and the crew. Was just awesome. And so there.
Gotcha. And so, Tom, I think you're the only actor to play Clark Kent Superman that also got a chance to work with Christopher Reeve. Do you remember any advice he might have given you or anything you asked him at the time?
I remember him just being like one of the most gracious, awesome people I've ever met in my life. He said to me, "I'm so glad that they chose you to be the next Superman." And I was like, "Well, they didn't." Because he was talking about the movies.
Right.
And he immediately said, "Well, they should have." And this was after filming with him for 6 hours. And I mean, I'm in awe. Like, I'm a fan. Like, when people say Superman, that's who I think of.
Yeah.
So I was very much in awe, and it's treasured in my heart, that experience, for sure.
I wanted to go. I was like, can Lex go? Can Lex show up at Dr. Swan's office? That would have been cool.
That would have been very interesting.
It would have been interesting, but I just, you know, because I was a huge fan. Who isn't a big fan of Christopher Reeve?
And then so now you guys are in the sort of position as like the veterans that, and now you kind of open the door for everything that's, you know, on the CW now. So like when you're meeting, like there's a picture that went viral of you with Brandon Routh and Tyler Hodgson a couple months ago. So like, what do you generally tell like these new up and coming actors that are playing Clark Kent, Superman, or John Cryer with Lex Luthor?
Well, no one's asked me anything.
You know,
no one's reached out.
John Cryer has been just extraordinary. I mean, he posts like that. You know, he thinks I was the best Lex Luthor, and I'm just in awe and honored. And I just, you know, it's really sweet when.
But when I did the thing.
What thing?
It was like the metaverse, whatever it was.
Oh, the multiverse.
And I walk up to him, to John Cryer, and he goes, "I'm Lex Luthor," and I said, "You're not Lex." That was such an easy line, if you know what I mean, because to me, this is the guy, and it was so easy to look at somebody like if you were like, my name's Tony, and I'd be like, "Nah, you're not Tony." You know what I mean? Like, so this is my Lex. There may have, you know, Gene Hackman was great and whatnot, but when John Cryer, God love him, I hope he was here when I'm talking about this, but like, he's not Lex to me, not to my Clark.
Not to his Clark, yeah. And John does a fantastic job, and you know, it's just like when you're working with someone so well together and so long together, like that will always be my Clark. I'll always be the Lex, and that's the chemistry we had on and off screen. So.
Yeah, and like you're saying, like I guess Superman's always sort of about truth, justice, and like the American way. But your version of Lex has resonated through like John said, it's like the best definitive version of Lex we've ever seen. So what, like back then, as like I don't remember how old you were in your 20s when you're asking, is like, what did you understand about this character? What was it about your audition that you were like, I get this character and I can play this character like this?
I would, first of all, I was nervous as hell, and I thought all these fans are going to hate me, and I'm not, you know, am I going to do well? Am I going to do this character right? Do it justice? And we weren't really around social media then, so it was great that I didn't have like the internet to go through and go, "Oh, you're messing it up. You really suck." You know, I didn't have to deal with all that, but I sort of approached it as whatever anybody else did, that's what they did. Let's be real. Let's be grounded. Learn your lines, hit your mark, trust the writing, trust the direction, trust the creating. And, you know, and I got lucky and I just stuck to my guns where, you know, I'm not going to be too evil. I wanted a lot of things to be deep. And it
was a story before the story.
It was a story before the story for both of us. It was a story before he becomes Superman, a story before I become the evil Lex Luthor that everybody knows. So I had a long way to sort of develop my character, and, you know, we had backstory, and I think it was the most, you know, detailed like character.
Well, the idea that we had multiple episodes over the course of all these seasons, you get into the actual character, where the films don't allow that. The film is more about plot, getting it done. You know,
Evil Lex.
You have Superman. A mission. You know, television does allow you to delve into character, and I mean, some of that's lacking in the films now, but that's not the film's fault. It's just
It is.
Okay.
I think that, you know, I think with character development in any movie, any TV show, any project, whether it's a play, if you can see where the character is coming from, if you understand, you know, his upbringing, something that makes you feel for a character, that goes a long way. And I think that in a lot of movies, not saying superhero movies, but we don't care about people, and you need to care. And we had a long time to develop that. But I think backstory is huge, and character development is huge. And
we also had time, I think, working together, all of us, we ended up caring about each other, and that feeds into the character development.
Yeah.
Like whether it's Kristen or Erica or you or John or John Glover, who we always talk about, that we care about these people and we care about the characters. So that's, in a film, you see somebody, maybe you see them 4 scenes like in the movie. Like you don't have time to know their last name or if they have kids or not. You know what I mean? Like, but on a TV show, it's like you get to know people, and that transcends.
Awesome. And so, Tom, you have 2 young children who are eventually going to grow up and realize their dad was Superman. So have you had any thoughts about how you're going to broach that subject, possibly?
Well, yeah, I was going to say I played Clark Kent.
Yeah.
I wasn't Superman, kids.
I wasn't Superman. I was Clark Kent. That's how I'm going to lead, and then I'm sure they're going to be like, no. But yeah, it's gonna
be a lot of fun for them watching it.
It's gonna be a lot of fun for them, and it's gonna be fun for me because I think at the time when we were doing Smallville, I didn't necessarily enjoy that aspect. And now that I have kids and I see that I see them watching things, and I'm like, man, when they figure this out, it's gonna be
exciting.
Hopefully exciting.
Yeah, I think it's.
Or they're just gonna be like, but we'll see.
I try to let my dog watch the shows, but it's not as much impact. I don't have any children, so what are you gonna do?
My sons are gonna be like, you were Lex Luthor?
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes my friends will come up to me like years later, and they'll be like, Chris is like, dude, you were the best Lex Luthor. I'm like, why didn't you tell me this while I was working on it? He goes, I always really loved your performance. I'm like, I think friends are weird about stuff or like opening up, and I was always like, dude, that means so much to me. Yeah. Definitely when your peers and your family like something you do, it's good.
Well, as a writer, like you write something, and then like somebody's like, dude, I just read that shit. That was awesome, and you're like, thank you. Then they wait a while and they tell you that, and you're like, well, why didn't you tell me that a little while ago?
Instant gratification. We were actors. We were artists.
It's the same thing.
We need that.
I get it. So like you said, like getting people to open up, and like I'm a huge fan of your podcast, which you get to see a much different side of you guys than what you like perceive from the show. And like you have great conversations with Kristen and Erica, Laura, so many people from the cast. And so like what's like doing the podcast and like reuniting on these convention tours has sort of like revealed to you about your former co-stars, friends, that that you like, because you've maintained, you really cherish these friendships that it's not often you see that in a TV cast.
I think by having these, like I have ADD, so it's hard for me to concentrate and focus. And when I put those headphones on and I sit there and talk to someone, I'm just enveloped in the moment. And I think that's what happens is I just really focus. I'm zoned in on that person entirely. And when actors or writers or whoever is a guest in the podcast open up and you get just some insight into their world, and we see what makes them tick, and we see how much adversity they faced, or if they got anxiety, like Stephen Amell had an anxiety attack in the podcast, and like we see that they're human. The human element in these podcasts, that is what makes me happy. Podcasts are best then.
But I also will say that like I feel, and I've been on your podcast multiple times, and I watch it. You're genuinely interested.
I am.
And that comes across. Like he's genuinely interested. Like I've tried to watch other podcasts, and it's just like people are just throwing questions up. Like he's genuinely interested. Like you can't fuck with him. Like he actually is listening to you. You know what I mean? He's paying attention to what you're saying. He's gonna keep you on point. So
I try.
Yeah, there's a genuineness. Is that a word?
Thank you. Genuineness. Yeah, why isn't it a word? And by the way, the podcast is called Inside You with Michael Rosenbaum. So please subscribe and listen. And Rohan, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. No, Tom, you're here next week, and it's been almost a year. Maybe you should come over to the house and do an episode. We'll have it for December.
I'd rather not.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember your first episode was Tom, and I was like, you haven't heard from Tom Welling since like 2011 because he's, you're private guys, and I respect that. So it's like Tom Welling, Michael Rosenbaum, immediate subscription. And then you guys mentioned that sort of animated revival. So are you allowed to say much more about that at the moment, or?
Not really. I mean, you know, Tom and I we got this going, and I hired an artist, and we got the boys, Miles and Al, who created Smallville, involved, and we're waiting for the right time. They're doing the Tim Burton series right now overseas, and when we get back, we're taking all these meetings, and we're gonna hopefully pitch
it's happening.
We love it to happen. We think it's a great idea. And the people behind it are great. So hopefully, you know, Warner Brothers will see what we see and work with us, which would be a freaking delight.
And the idea is that we get as many as the original voices from the characters.
Yeah, like Erica to play Lois.
Yeah,
and like you know, John Glover to play Kristen, my father. Like bring in guests and new people from the DC world, and like really create a new world. And I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm hoping HBO Max, man. So
it's actually a very good place.
Yeah, you know, I think that would be great.
So like Tom, I wanted to ask really quickly, were you asked to return for the last season of Lucifer, or because you were really great on that show as well?
No, I mean not to no. The answer is no.
You did a season, you did an arc.
I did an arc. They actually wanted 5 episodes, and then I was like, well, if I'm gonna do 5, I might as well do 10. And they said okay, and so that 3rd season that I'm in, that was all on purpose, and I wish they'd asked me back, but they have not. It was fun. It was like kind of, you would have loved it too. Like that set, like Lauren and Tom, like they ran it the way we did, in a sense where like, welcome, have fun, but get it done. Yeah. Like that. And so I was like, this is fantastic. And I was a fan of the show before anyway, so.
That's great.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't ask me back. Maybe it was something I did wrong.
I don't think so. I think you know, a season of you with an arc was what they wanted, and that's what they intended to do.
There's your answer.
They got 5 episodes. You did 10. Yeah. I was gonna do 6 episodes. I did 7.
Yeah.
Or seasons in Smallville. It's the same kind of
so
thing.
they were done.
Rhyme or reason. Yeah, that's just like, hey, this is what it was. You know, that's.
Yeah, and it's, by the way, it's never really up to us.
No.
No. It's never.
I got you. And so like both of you guys have directed episodes of Smallville, and I know Michael, you directed a feature as well. So like, have you guys ever had that itch to get back into the director's chair with this animated show or something?
Yeah. You know, I would. I'm looking at some stuff now. I'm a big horror movie fan, and I got a couple horror movies written, and I'd like to direct. And you know, I did my own feature comedy, this raunchy comedy called Back in the Day, and made it for pennies. And I did a couple of shorts, and I really enjoy being sort of in control behind the scenes to sort of make everything better. And
navigate the tone.
Yeah. I really enjoy it. I know Tom does it. I think he's really great at it. So he should definitely do it.
Well, we're working on something that we're going to do about characters that maybe just finished being on a successful or relatively successful television show. But I think that's something where you could direct that.
Oh yeah, you could really direct it easily.
Well, I could direct it, but you'd be better at it.
No way.
You would.
Anyway, we both love directing, is what we're trying to tell you.
It's fun to be a part of it. It's all storytelling. So as long as you're making everything better, it's good.
Yeah, no, I wanted to ask about that as well, because I know, Tom, you did Professionals recently, and you were developing something for CBS Section 13 a couple years. We're both sort of spy thriller actioners.
Yeah.
And Michael, I feel like you steer more toward comedy. So like, what kind of project is the perfect sort of project for you guys? Or is this that project that you're sort of talking about?
I mean, the one we're working on right now is called Zeros, and I won't tell you anything else about it, but it's just a world that would be fun to do everything, to direct. It's fun to write. It's fun, you know, to act in it with Tom and other. It'd just be a really great time. So we're developing that. We're pitching that. We have a pitch coming up in 2 weeks, and we'll see what happens. But we're going to keep going forward and moving forward and trying to do things, tackle things that we have passion for, that we want to do, that we want to enjoy, because I think you have to have an element of fun in everything you do. And so that's kind of, at my age, that's what I look at. I look for into finding something that I could have fun with.
I mean, by the time you turn 30, you're going to accomplish something.
Oh yeah. But when I hit 30, man, I will be going backwards quite a few years. Well, thanks, Rohan. This was great.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope we're not out of time. But I just wanted to say before we go, both of you guys really meant a lot to me when I was growing up. So the show ended when I was 18-ish, freshman year of college, and like Clark's story, sort of being an outsider, trying to fit in, and like, you know, I don't look anything like Clark. Yeah, it was like I was an average. I was sort of, you know, average height, more ruggedly handsome than classic All-American, and kind of funny and like a non-obvious.
More ruggedly handsome than Clark.
I like the confidence.
But yeah, no, I was born and raised here in America, but trying to fit in, your story really resonated with me, and it was it's just I guess I'm still trying to figure it out, trying to find that Lois Lane, but it's like thank you guys so much for the show. I
got to tell you that Alan Miles, who created and wrote the show, without them, like you gotta talk about them when you're talking about us.
Yeah, because I think without their vision and without their tone, without their casting us, I mean, there is no show. And but well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. A lot of people come to us and say, hey, I'm just trying to navigate high school and trying to figure myself out, and it makes us feel good. So we appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time. This interview
Thanks, dude.
It's been so awesome. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.